Don't think that you're opening up the industry, but keep it so restricted that 85% of couples have to postpone their weddings, because that's what's happened. Our parliamentarians think that it's open. We're not open. We're not open for business. The wedding industry, by definition, people have always thought, okay, it's privately owned venues and maybe dress designers. But you have to think, to pull a wedding together, you've got the beauty industry, hospitality, fashion, retail, entertainment, the entertainment market, these contractors, these casual employees that have just been completely, forgotten in this process. This is your opportunity to shine, because there are so many people out there who are not communicating effectively with their consumers, with their service providers, with their own colleagues. And it's really important now to deliver service at 1,000%, because that is what is going to set you up strategically to be able to continue your business and thrive when the time is right.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the Make It Happen show, where we're joined by Wendy El-Khoury. Wendy is often referred to as the fairy godmother for small business. And in this episode, you can absolutely see why. We talk about how she's been representing the wedding and events industry during these times of crisis. We also talk about what innovative businesses are doing in that industry to not just survive, but thrive. And then we touch on how Wendy sees the future unfolding. What is the wedding and the events industry, or all business, going to look like, 1 year, 18 months from now? It's a really great conversation. I know you're going to love it. Hello, I'm joined here by Wendy El-Khoury, who is the founder and director of Wedded Wonderland and also Wonderland Media. So thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Great. You are well amongst all the chaos and the doom and the gloom?
Look, I'm having a COVID baby. It's my 5th. So I have to be well. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, my wife and I have a COVID baby as well in about 6 weeks. Only our second will be here. Yeah, so actually, thank you very much. I remember actually speaking to the obstetrician months and months ago, where we're like, this is all going to be done by then, and as it turns out, it won't be. So anyway, last 6 months have been a bit of a journey for you and your industry. You've actually become a real voice for the events and the wedding industry, a real champion for change there. How have you made that happen?
We started the Save Our Weddings campaign in March as soon as we realised that the wedding industry was going to be impacted by COVID. There were a whole series of restrictions that started playing out across Australia. And very quickly, we thought, oh my goodness, these guys are not going to have their weddings. What's going to happen to the industry? When are we going to be able to, open up once again? And so from day one, we were requesting a roadmap. And this was Australia-wide. We know that we're restricted. During the month of April, you couldn't get married in New South Wales. That's been the case in Victoria for the past 6 weeks. It's all about future-proofing the industry. We're a long shelf life industry. It takes 14 months on average to plan a wedding. So we wanted just a little bit of insight in regards to what it will look like to open up. So for the couple that have booked their wedding in October or November, and back then in August, for example, what may it look like should, COVID cases start to drop and other industries start to open up as well?
So back in March, you were saying we really need a roadmap here. How did that roadmap come about? Did you see much of a roadmap? Has it been a clear pathway, or what's the result been?
In certain states, they came out with a roadmap quite quickly. Western Australia were fantastic in actually saying, here's a roadmap, stage 4, 3, 2, and 1. And this is what we anticipate, and here are the dates. And it made it really easy for the industry to be able to future-proof themselves, and also for couples to future plan. So that was a fantastic move by the Western Australian government. In other states, it's been a little bit shaky.
There has been a bit of variety between the different states, that's for sure. It's surprising, like people just wanting certainty, as much certainty as you can get in these current times, but just something to plan around is so important. But it does seem to have been something that so many, not to name any names or any states, but so many people haven't gotten right.
Absolutely. And I think initially we didn't know what the impact of COVID was going to be. We thought every second person was going to, have this virus, and everyone was in lockdown. My husband went and bought every, toilet paper roll he could find. It was very, the anxiety was there, and we really didn't know how it would impact us. First and foremost, if you think of flight and fight, people think about their health and their well-being. So we were like, right, weddings have stopped. Let's just think about how to stay healthy. Now that we're 6 months in, everyone's like, right, we've gone through the first wave. There's been a second wave. and cases are, have the whole restrictions in New South Wales have been around keeping the curve flat. The curve has remained flat since the last restrictions came out. So now what? Are we just going to stay effectively restricted until there's a vaccine? We need some answers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because even that is so uncertain. And even actually, so we actually just did a piece of research, right, where we surveyed almost 1,000 small and medium business owners on a whole range of topics. And one of them was, if a vaccine comes out, would you take it? And 1/5 said never. And another 15% said not for at least another year. And so it's like, so yeah, we're all saying, well, a lot of people are saying, oh, when the vaccine comes out, everything can get back to normal. But even then it's going to take a long time for people to even accept that, if at all. So we're in for a long road here. So we work around Australia right now. So obviously for your industry, Victoria is still the most challenged. Is there, shoots of recovery across the other states?
Definitely. I mean, we had Western Australia announce yesterday that they were going into budget surplus. So it's amazing and extraordinary that they effectively have continued to operate almost business as usual during this time. They were impacted for, approximately 2 months there. And the wedding industry primarily works around a 9-month cycle. Winter is quietest, so we had a little bit of leeway. June, July, August generally it has a little bit more downtime, and that's why so many people were waiting for that announcement in Victoria, in New South Wales, in Queensland. Saying, okay, let us know if spring summer events can take place. I mean, we have spring racing coming up in Victoria, which is such a big deal for the economy. What can we do to celebrate spring racing? What can we do to celebrate weddings? What can we do to celebrate events? And don't think that you're opening up the industry, but keep it so restricted that 85% of couples have to postpone their weddings, because that's what's happened. Our parliamentarians think that it's open. We're not open. We're not open for business.
Yeah, yeah. So I really would love to dig into how businesses could navigate through those challenging kind of situations where, rules are in place, they can't operate like they used to. But before we get to that, and before we move on from, rallying a whole group of people or a whole industry around a cause, like how do you go about doing something like that? Were you in a very lucky position that you have a huge social media following, or did you need to do new things to really rally people around the cause?
Well, I think that you need to have a very, very simple concept that resonates with everyone, whether it's the consumer, whether it's the business, or even just, I had somebody stop me at David Jones the other day and say, "Oh, you're the Save Our Weddings girl." And this was somebody serving me. So it resonates with everyone. And so we came up with a really clear and very simple tagline for everyone to jump on board and say, right, we want to save our weddings. This means for everybody, for the person who's attending the wedding, as much as for the family friend who wants to be able to participate, as well as the couple getting married, and of course the business owners. We obviously have a very large social media platform, and really for me, I felt uber responsible. I thought, you know what, we work between the industry and the consumer. We always have. I need to step up and say something. We don't have an official lobby group for the wedding industry. There is nobody representing us in Parliament.
Really? How many other industries would be like that?
There are so many micro entrepreneurial industries and subsets that fall between the cracks. So the wedding industry, by definition, people have always thought, okay, it's privately owned venues and maybe dress designers. But you have to think to pull a wedding together, you've got the beauty industry, hospitality, fashion, retail, entertainment, the entertainment market, these contractors, these casual employees that have just been completely, forgotten in this process.
And so many of them are just solo operators or
Solo
small teams.
operators,
Yeah, true
no job
entrepreneurs. Yeah,
keeper.
okay. Well done for being the champion for them. So it's a clear cause. It's catchy. People can rally around it. How did you start getting? How did you get media to listen? How did you get people to start paying attention?
Look, media was always a really difficult play, because as soon as weddings started effectively getting shut down, or service providers couldn't follow through with contractual agreements, the media was really centered around focusing on couples that were taking businesses to court. And this, venue doesn't want to give this deposit back, and people are losing thousands of dollars. And so it was very centered around the the 1% of what was happening, as opposed to these, couples that really, I mean, who gets engaged and thinks, okay, well, yes, I'm going to spend my wedding planning journey taking my service providers to court, or, the industry not wanting to actually follow through with the wedding. This was regulation. Nobody ever, it was a lose-lose scenario. So, initially media, I had a lot of, the big players calling me saying, do you know any couples that are really struggling and have been, have had money stolen from them? And I said, I'm not talking about that.
That's not the
That's not
story. Yeah.
that's not the story. The story is about the Save Our Weddings. It is about all of the different businesses that work under this umbrella, as well as all of the consumers that, the average spend on a wedding in Australia is over $65,000. This is somebody's income for an entire year. So it's real, and it really has impacted so many people. So it took a while for media to catch on. Actually, news.com.au were the first to contact me just a couple of weeks ago to say, can you actually put a piece together about what the Save Our Weddings campaign is really all about? And from there, I've been on Sunrise, I've been on Kiss, spoke to Gladys Berejiklian, and had a few other people jump on to be able to run the story around the Save Our Weddings campaign. Prior to that, unfortunately, it was more about the who's stealing money from whom, which we don't want to engage. We don't want businesses to, we don't want to defame anyone.
Well done on changing the narrative. It might have been a long time and probably very painful, but you've done it. So that's really good. And I think it is, it's representative of what we all want. Like, we all want a bit of certainty. We want to be able to make plans. People want to be able to, know when they're going to go on holidays, know when they're going to get together. So yeah, being a lightning rod for that is well done. I think you're doing a good job for all of us. So despite all the changes, all the challenges, we've certainly seen a number of business owners that have said, hey, I know it's tough, but I'm going to think a bit innovatively. I'm going to do some different things. I know you've seen some great examples of that. Are there a couple that really spring to mind, businesses that have, despite all the doom and gloom, have changed and done some great stuff?
Absolutely. I think the opportunities around events in Australia, generally speaking, is that people are not traveling. So local destination weddings, local destination events, local honeymoons, staycations. We've just been, the bushfires feel like a million years ago, but it was actually just at the start of the year. And so many rural and, country towns were really impacted by this. So we've seen a few people create some incredible packages and offerings around that local destination, being able to take your family away for the weekend, having a beautiful wedding. And we're really trying to drive that through our platform and encourage people to do that, because we see it as an opportunity for Australians. So that's exciting. We also are seeing people wanting to celebrate within their own home. So the hiring of products, florals, for example, now having installations of florals that can last an entire month or a year within your house. So encouraging florists to kind of think about longevity, dry hire companies to hire out for a little bit longer. And people are looking at their homes now and thinking, I want to be able to host people here. I want to, transform this into an event space. What can I do? So
yeah,
encouraging that too. Yeah.
Are some of these trends going to continue for the next year, 2 years and beyond? Like, do you think some people will say, hey, this is a really good idea. It's fantastic to deck out my home for my wedding and have it look beautiful for the next month. Do you think this will continue?
You know how you see photos of our parents' generation getting married and having, like, the aunties made, the overly sugar coated cake, wedding cake, and you've got the mini wedding dress with the big veil and the bridesmaids with flowers from the garden. We are seeing this come back. We're seeing families really embracing that celebration at home. And I think for those who have a boutique mentality, and for those who really just wanted to focus on the essence of gathering with family and friends, that's going to continue. People are doing different seatings for weddings and for their bridal shower. My brother had his wedding a couple of weeks ago. We have 2 rooms, one for the family, one for the friends. So
respectable room, not so respectable room.
yeah, but we couldn't really, COVID marshals, so nobody could really move. But actually, it was something that so many people thought, oh, you know what, that's not a bad idea. I can kind of have a party room and you do the formalities here. And, people are doing things in 2 seatings as well. So they're having like a bridal shower in the morning for family and then bringing their friends along in the afternoon with the same seating. there is definitely an element of creativity and an element of, I actually have control over how I can
Yeah,
celebrate.
there's always opportunity. That's what we love seeing as well. Like no matter what's going on, for the smart business owners, the ones that are willing to think a bit differently, there's always some opportunity. Whether it's like changing how you get to your customers, yeah, those are great examples as well. So okay, there's some new constraints in place. How do we operate within that? What about any suppliers servicing different customer segments? Have they managed to sort of say, hey, I normally do weddings, but I've broken into another area? Any examples of that?
Yep. So we have one supplier called Harborside Decorators who primarily focused on the private event market in terms of furniture hire, and tableware and all that kind of thing. And now they're actually going into homes and staging houses
Oh, cool.
um,
Yeah.
in real estate. Yeah. So we've actually seen that switch, and they're doing an incredible job. And I think, so many people who have a product that actually sits within one particular market. We've had suppliers who generally do parties and props and decorations and that kind of things, who've been creating almost like a party in a box to deliver to people's homes that their kids can play with. We had that happen over Easter. We'll probably see it over Christmas. I mean, Halloween, people are not going to be door knocking on Halloween, and kids look
No
forward to this,
way.
right? So, like, how can people celebrate Halloween at home? So, it's all of those kinds of things, incorporating that into a food offering. So, we're now seeing breakfast boxes, event boxes, going to people's homes, from a corporate perspective. I know my sister works in the corporate event market, and she's been sending, cocktail shakers to people's houses and doing complete settings as if they're at an event.
We had a dinner, or rather, it was supposed to be a dinner a couple of weeks ago for some of our really premium members, and it was going to be all of us come together from around the country, have a really premium dinner, and of course that was not happening. And so we found a local bar that did gin tasting kits. And so they sent out, everyone got their gin tasting kit with their tiny little, like 6 or 7 little bottles of gin, and we all jumped on Zoom, and the guy took us through, the history of gin and the different styles, and it was excellent. It was lots of fun, and I said to him, "Are you going to continue doing this post-COVID when things open back up?" He's like, "Absolutely. It's a really great new offering for us. It gives us more reach. It's not just waiting for people to come through the door." And so, yeah, examples of that I think are inspiring to see, and hopefully people remember them moving forwards. Hi everyone, I just wanted to jump in here to let you know, if you're enjoying this episode, it doesn't need to stop here. We've taken this episode plus all the other episodes and also video footage from the interviews and made it available for free. There's also a bunch of fantastic guides, tools, and resources you can use to grow your business. To grab those tools, just go to www.the-entourage.com/podcast. Right, let's get back into the show. So let's actually talk about moving forwards. So when we've touched on it a little bit, but as things open back up, how do you see it going for the events and wedding industry over the next, say, 12, 18 months? If you had your crystal ball and it was super clear, like, what do you see the next year and a half looking like?
I think we're going to see two different types of scenarios play out. One is there are a lot of people out there who really want to party. So we're going to be
Yeah.
seeing we're going to be seeing quite extraordinary parties.
On that, I've been saying that the Roaring Twenties are really, really going to kick off in 2021. It's going to be excellent.
It's war mentality. We've been in lockdown. We haven't been able to go out and about and really, experience celebration. It's been a different mindset. So I think as soon as those doors open, and it was so funny because at the start of the year, I actually spoke at one of our events and said the Roaring Twenties are here from a style and aesthetic perspective. Who knew it would be here from a mindset standpoint? So that's what we're heading into, absolutely. And then there will be others who have really recognized, what, and had to do some self-reflection on what their core values are from a business perspective, from a personal standpoint, where their money is going. I think people are going to be a lot savvier with where they're investing. They realize that, economically, there are going to be shifts, and so what is going to keep these businesses alive, and also people investing in property versus going on a holiday, for example, you know, there's going to be a shift in mindset around spend for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the interesting things that no one's going to know for ages is like how long term is the change in our thinking from this whole situation. Yeah, are people going to be more conservative for a very long period of time? Are we going to see, or are we going to see, like you alluded to there, a splintering of like some people are going to be like, right, let's throw off the shackles, nothing's going to stop us now, and then you're going to have other people. And I think even in that creates a lot of great opportunity for, you know, the suppliers you work with and the people planning weddings. It's like there might be a little bit more choice coming through. It's like maybe everything was a little bit more homogenous prior, and now it'll be like, well, you might be this way or this way.
Well, traditionally we're a face-to-face industry, and so we've now seen, designers doing fittings through Zoom, and meetings taking place that way. And we always, everyone, every supplier you would speak to, in the industry would say, no, we need people to come in. We need to have that emotional connection with them. We can't sell over email. Digital's not really for us. Guess what? Now it has to be. And I think that's we're running a couple of online courses about the importance of having a presence and not seeing it as secondary online. You have to be as engaging online as you have been offline. Otherwise, your business will not survive in any capacity.
Yeah. Well, it's sped up the adoption of like online services for the laggard industries, of which having a big background in hospitality, I think hospitality has taken a long time to really leverage. Online presence, that's a great example. Fittings, wedding dress fittings. Who would have thought that would ever happen? But you're forced to do it now, and that's going to have a lot of opportunity. We've seen a similar example for us. Like it's certainly been a very challenging period for a lot of the business owners that are in the entourage. It's helping them navigate that. But seeing how they change their operations, how we've changed our operations, we've traditionally been a very, very heavy face-to-face training business. We always live streamed the stuff that we did, but it was kind of back of the room and a bit secondary to the workshops going on. Of course, now we have to be going all in on live stream, and for our interstate members, they're like, this is fantastic. Like, yes, I love seeing you guys, and I want to come back and see everyone and connect, but I don't necessarily want to do that in a workshop setting. And so, moving forwards, we'll be thinking about. It's actually almost clean slate, right? We can say, hey, we've got this new way of delivering education that's really working. Everyone needs to connect. Everyone wants to come together. But if you're going to ask yourself what's the best way to do that, it's not to bring them together to sit in a workshop all day. It's probably to get them on a boat and go and have a lot of fun and really, really connect in that kind of way. So it'll change how we all operate, I think.
But there's a different experience at every level. Like what we've realized, we've had to completely adopt a whole new strategy around our product offering. And we initially launched our online courses and thought, we had over 100 people sign up prior thinking, everyone's going to jump on this. Now's the time. Everyone's sitting at home, and nothing's happening. What's going on? So we had to film additional things that we felt like, okay, we're more in line with people's mindset now. Break it up from a price point perspective. I think that's super important. So we've got like a boot camp now, which is like $39 a week. And we're finding that so many more people are like, oh, there's part payments. I can do it in my own time. I feel like I've completed something at the end of it. I think during this time, a sense of completion and ticking something off your list is so important. And we've been offering a whole bunch of freebies. For us, it's like that lower level stuff that we think people know, or we think that they are aware that we do, and they just don't, we haven't made it abundantly clear enough.
You only know that stuff because you've been in the industry for so long. And yeah, great. So you're going back to your education roots. You're going all full circle.
We've been doing ebooks. We've had a whole series of free ebooks, and then a couple of them which have a bit more substance that are like 30 or 40 pages long. And it's content that's on our website. It's stuff that, again, like I said, it's just repurposing things to make it relevant for right now, what people need to know. And one of them is like a COVID wedding planner. The other one's a COVID survival guide for businesses. It's things like that really low level, that is a kind of a no-brainer, and it gives people a bit of a touch point. Like I said, oh, I've just read that, I finished that, I've got some points to follow through with, and I can move forward, because it's so hard to plan right now.
Yeah. Actually, so on a very, very micro point here, because this is a question that we had on an event that we had yesterday. It was a professional services firm, and they're like, how do I create these interesting ebooks and lead magnets and stuff for a service? And you've actually just touched on a couple of examples there. What are your thoughts around this?
It is the best lead generator. It's an opportunity to be able to talk to, and we've had people download it that I'm like, I didn't know that person was like following us or was interested in what we were doing. You get people from other markets who, which you're not, we've had interior designers, some graphic designers, that kind of probably work within a private event market and touch on some of the points that we focus on. So you don't know who you're engaging with until you actually open up the opportunity for communication and give an opportunity. You have to, almost like extend that branch and see who takes it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love that when we put out different lead magnets and, I get right into our marketing funnels as well. You're like, oh, look who just downloaded that.
Yeah.
Look who just opted into that.
I'm one of those people. I'm like literally going through the list every day, and it's exciting because you're seeing something happening, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think an unintended consequence of this, and so many people getting online so quickly, and then surely the online landscape is going to become even more competitive, and there might even be a little bit of fatigue coming out of it. I mean, I love talking to you on Zoom or on video conference right now, but I tell you what, once we don't have to do quite as many video conferencing, I'm going to be face-to-face meetings as much as I possibly can. Do you think there's going to be is there either fatigue or just super, super competitive online now that everyone's operating on there?
Well, now it's a level playing field. When I speak about Instagram specifically, there is a huge amount of fatigue around that platform because a lot of people feel like they're going backwards in numbers, the engagement isn't as high, they don't know what to share anymore. And so we are seeing that so many people are using that platform in particular the way that they were 3 years ago and expecting the same response. There is, these platforms continue to evolve. Unless you evolve with them and you keep the conversation going and relevant context, they say content is king. Context is king. Context is what really will set you apart. And that's how you kind of keep the momentum unique to what your offering is. Otherwise, you're constantly looking at what your competitors are doing and going, they just, we should have thought of that and we're not getting as much engagement or what's happening over here. It's a never ending story, right?
Yeah. And I think that, there's a good point, like understanding that you need to keep on evolving because the platform's absolutely evolving, and that is the biggest challenge. I mean, but yeah, we've been stuck in that trap. So many business owners that we know have been stuck in that trap. They're like, I used to do it this way, I'm still doing it that way, and it's not working as well. And just being aware that like everyone else is out there doing it at the moment, so you've got to stay ahead of the game is really important. Yeah, so great. All right, I've got a couple more questions to ask you that I haven't seen, and you of course have not seen. We've got probably about 4 or 5 here that we look. I say that we try and get it done in a minute, but we never ever do. So yeah, I've got five questions here, and then we can probably wrap on a couple of final thoughts after these as well. All right, so you ready to make this happen in under a minute, ish? First one is, what's the number one skill you think business owners need to develop in 2020?
Online communication.
Yep. Yeah, so really connecting with your customer on all the different online channels, whether they be social media, email, all that kind of stuff.
And tying it all together. So taking a multi-channel approach to your online presence, not just thinking you're going to get everything through Instagram or Facebook or newsletter. It's about how it all talks to each other. So,
all right, fantastic. Next question. What's one skill that you wish you could learn?
I never worked in hospitality in a kitchen. And I feel like that's one thing that I always wish that I could relate to, and a skill that I feel like fundamentally so many people use for the rest of their life. So you've got that, but I don't.
There you go. You feel like you need some more burns on your fingers.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Number 3. What does your morning routine look like?
I have 4 children under 7.
So chaos.
So it is incredibly chaotic. Yeah, just I try and get everything done the night before, so my morning routine actually flows nicely, but it never goes according to plan, really.
I get about as I said, with only one at the moment and the other one here, there's still a curveball. With 4 for you, I can't even imagine what the mornings are like.
I do still check into our Google Analytics. I check our Facebook. I do check email. So I do that at like 5:30 a.m. Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say you must be up pretty early to get that done. All right. Before you settled on the name Wedded Wonderland, what other names did you come up with?
Oh my goodness. I had a name called the Mannequin.
The Mannequin?
Yes, because I thought that different people can adopt different personas through what a mannequin can be. And so I wanted to talk about, because no two weddings are alike, no two couples are alike. And so that was something that I was looking at. That's such a left field. No one's ever asked me that question, actually.
No. Well, and maybe you can keep that in your back pocket for the next business, the next thing you think of.
I should have called it Wedding Wonderland because then from a SEO perspective, it would have been better. There's a
But
tip.
back then, were you even thinking about SEO? So, but no, very good tip actually. All right, so last question I've got here, and then I've also got another one from me as well. So if a business owner wants to break into the events industry, despite COVID and all the challenges and the restrictions, what's the one thing they should do to make that happen?
Experience.
Yep. Okay, and how do you think they should get that? Yeah.
Sure. So right now, people are so focused on what they're left feeling when they walk away from an event. So you need to think about the experience of your product as opposed to the actual product.
Gotcha. Okay, so if someone wanted to break in, it's like, where could you give a fantastic experience? How do you really ramp that up, and that's your entree into the industry, despite all the chaos?
That's it. Despite
Awesome.
everything.
And then, so last question from me is, you're probably actually saying this all day, every day, but to the people that follow you, the people in your industry, what would be your words of encouragement or guidance? Like, what would you say to them to keep their heads up and keep on progressing as things open up?
I think you need to think about the couples and the scenario that you're in terms of the limbo process that the industry has been in for the past 6 months. Ensure that you service every single one of those guys because they have been through absolute turmoil as you have. And that is the legacy of your business. So don't think I just need to get through it and I can't wait for these couples to go away and I can't wait for this to be over. This is your opportunity to shine because there are so many people out there who are not communicating effectively with their consumers, with their service providers, with their own colleagues. And it's really important now to deliver service at 1,000% because that is what is going to set you up strategically to be able to continue your business and thrive when the time is right.
Excellent. Wendy, those are fantastic words of advice. Thanks for the conversation today. I really enjoyed just covering off everything you've done. I think you've been doing great work and you're obviously a well-deserved champion for your industry. So thank you very much for joining the Make It Happen show and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's hope we get somewhere. Save our weddings, Australia.
Absolutely, we will. All right, thank you. Bye. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Make It Happen show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And it doesn't need to end there. We've actually gone and grabbed a whole bunch of extra resources for you. Behind the scenes footage, videos from this and all the other episodes, as well as show notes that you can grab for free. Just head along to www.the-entourage.com/podcast and you can grab all those extra resources.